All right, so today we're diving into something pretty interesting.
Yeah,
I think this will resonate with a lot of our listeners
definitely.
when it comes to like medical stuff, right?
Absolutely.
It can be pretty overwhelming, honestly.
Yeah, definitely. Especially when you're dealing with like a major medical decision, right?
Oh, totally.
Like a complicated procedure or something.
Yeah, and you've got all this paperwork and you're just like,
Right, exactly. And you're trying to like process all this information about risks and all that stuff.
you're not really thinking about the paperwork, are you?
No, not at all. You're just thinking about like your health and
Right.
getting better.
Exactly.
But in all of that chaos, there's one thing that's super important, and that's your informed consent form.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Informed consent. That's key.
Huge.
And that's kind of where this whole thing with mobile notary Derek comes in.
Yeah.
Have you heard of this?
I have. It's really interesting, actually. They offer this service that, like, combines the world of notaries with healthcare.
Really?
It's pretty cool.
I mean, when I think of notaries, I think of like real estate,
Yeah.
you know,
Exactly. Yeah, wills and stuff.
like legal documents.
Yeah.
But medical,
I know, right?
I'm intrigued.
But it actually makes a lot of sense when you think about it.
Okay.
So a notary is basically an impartial witness, right?
Right.
They're there to verify signatures and make sure documents are legally sound.
Mm-hmm.
And that can be so valuable in a medical context.
Okay, I'm starting to see where you're going with this.
Right.
But why would you need a notary for medical consent? I mean, isn't it enough for the doctor to just explain the procedure
Right.
and have the patient sign a form?
Well, yeah, it's not quite that simple.
Okay,
Informed consent, it's about more than just a signature.
gotcha.
It's about making sure the patient truly understands the procedure,
Okay,
the risks, the benefits, and any other options that might be out there.
alternatives.
Exactly.
Okay,
So it protects both the patient and the healthcare provider.
that makes sense. So, I was on Mobile Notary Derek's website, and they specifically say that informed consent has to be like informed, voluntary, and competent.
Yes, those are the three big ones.
And those seem like important words.
Super important.
Like, what do they mean?
Okay, so informed basically means that the patient has all the information they need to make a decision.
Right.
They're not in the dark about anything.
Okay.
Voluntary means that they're not being pressured or coerced in any way.
Oh, that's huge.
Right.
Especially in a medical situation.
Exactly. You don't want anyone feeling like they have to do something they don't want to do.
Right.
And then competent means they have the mental capacity to understand the information and make a reasoned choice.
So they're like of sound mind.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So they're able to actually weigh the pros and cons and make a decision that's best for them.
So where does the notary fit into all of this?
So the notary is kind of like a referee in a way.
Okay.
They're there to document that the patient's consent was indeed informed, voluntary, and competent. They can explain the consent form in plain language.
Oh, that's good. Because a lot of times that legal jargon,
Oh, it's impossible.
you don't know what it means.
Right.
Yeah.
They can make sure the patient has a chance to ask questions.
Get all their questions answered.
Yeah, and confirm that they're signing freely and willingly.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
I guess my concern is like, isn't that adding another layer of bureaucracy?
I can see why you'd think that.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because medical stuff is already kind of,
A hassle.
yeah, a hassle.
It can be.
Complicated.
But actually having a notary there can streamline things in the long run.
Really?
Yeah, because it minimizes the risk of misunderstandings or disputes later on.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So it's like preventative.
Exactly. It's like a preventative measure.
Okay.
And if there are ever any legal questions about the consent process, the notary's documentation can be crucial.
It's like proof that everything was on the up and up.
Exactly.
Oh, okay. I'm starting to see the value here.
Yeah.
It's kind of like having, I don't know, like an advocate
Yeah.
for the patient to make
Yeah.
sure that everything's done by the book and their rights are protected.
Exactly.
So how does this work in practice?
Oh.
Does the notary like sit there in silence while the doctor explains everything?
No. It's much more interactive than that.
Okay.
The notary would work with both the patient and the healthcare provider.
Okay.
They'd make sure the patient understands the consent form,
Mm-hmm.
answer any questions they might have,
Okay.
and even help with communication if there are language barriers.
That was a good point.
Yeah. So they're really there to advocate for the patient's understanding.
Make sure they're not lost in the process.
Exactly. And make sure their voice is heard,
Yeah.
because that's what it's all about.
I'm just thinking of all the situations where this service would be like really helpful.
Yeah,
Like someone facing a complex surgery
absolutely.
or like a patient who might have cognitive impairments.
Yes.
And they need extra support in understanding the consent process.
Exactly. Or even in cases involving language barriers.
Right.
Like you said.
Where the notary could maybe even translate.
Yeah, a notary who speaks the patient's language could be so valuable in those situations.
Yeah.
Really making sure everyone's on the same page and the patient's rights are fully protected.
Wow, this mobile notary, Derek, is pretty impressive.
Yeah, it's a really interesting service.
It's like they're bridging the gap between all the legal mumbo-jumbo of medical documents
Right.
and the human side of healthcare.
Exactly.
And just knowing that someone is there specifically to make sure you understand everything,
Yeah.
that's got to be reassuring.
It's huge for patients. It really empowers them and makes them feel like they're active participants in their own healthcare decision.
Right, not just like a passive recipient of care.
Exactly.
That's a big difference.
It is.
This has been really eye-opening.
It's fascinating stuff.
It makes you think, with medical procedures becoming more and more complex,
Yeah.
how might services like Mobile Notary Derek evolve in the future?
That's a great question.
What other ways could they help patients, navigate all the complexities of medical decisions?
It's definitely something to ponder.
It is. It is.
A lot to think about.
Well, on that note, I think we'll wrap things up.
Sounds good.
This has been a fascinating dive into Mobile Notary Derek and their role in medical consent.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here.